Hey guys, hope you're all having a good day. So today I wanted to share the method which I like to use to consistently get a really high score in the Accursed Tower Purification, and this actually allows me to get between 5k and 6k score. In this specific run that I'm going to be sharing today, I actually managed to get almost a 6k score. So I know that a lot of players have been struggling with this, and there is a kind of a trick to it, which I think that not many players know about. On my server at least, I actually noticed a few players who got 5,000 score, but unfortunately they weren't willing to share the information with me. They kind of wanted to keep this information private, which I kind of understand because they kind of want their clan to be on top, and those players weren't in the same clan as me. So I kind of understand this, but at the same time, it's actually very frustrating to find this kind of information. But at the same time, I kind of have the opinion that it's really hard to improve on your strategies and find better strategies if not many players know about strategy that you're using. So today I kind of wanted to share it in the video, and I am aware that some players are able to actually get even higher score than this, but I wasn't able to figure out the strategy myself. So this strategy I actually managed to figure out just myself, just from pure testing and kind of trying what works. But I do know that some players are actually able to get a 7k score or maybe even an 8k score on some other servers. I'm not too sure. If you are one of those players and you know how the trick is done and you want to come forward and share the method with me and wouldn't mind it being on video, then please feel free to reach out to me. If you just leave a comment in this video, then I'm more than happy to speak with you privately to understand how it works. And of course, I'll be giving credit where credit is due, and I will give you a shout out in that video. So with that said, let's jump straight into the video. So the first thing which I'm going to say is when doing any of these kind of strategies, it's very important for all of the group to be on voice, whether that be on Discord or some other app. It's really important to have everyone in your team kind of being able to speak to each other. It's actually really important to have every single player who's in your party to be on the Discord call, because you will have to do a lot of signaling every kind of few seconds just to let your party know. You guys will see what I mean in a second, but this is just something that I wanted to say, that if you're not able to get on voice and kind of signal your teammates, I wouldn't really bother doing this strategy. Just typing out what you want to do in chat, for example, is going to be extremely hard. So this is something that needs a lot of coordination and a lot of teamwork, and if you try to do it without voice communication, it's going to just cause a lot of headaches. So that's the big warning that I kind of wanted to give, just so you guys don't waste your time with this video if this isn't really something that you'd be interested in. So as you can see from my gameplay right now, this is the first phase and is key to achieving a high score, and this is called the prep phase. So in the prep phase, what you basically want to do is maximize the number of elites that spawn in the map, and I think that a few players already know about this, so I'll just quickly go through it. You basically, what you want to do is kill as many of the white trash mobs, and what this does is that every time you kill one of them, there's a chance that it replaces the spawn with either a blue, yellow, or orange elite, and these elites drop a lot more purification shards compared to the white mobs. So you kind of just want to organize with your group. What I like to do is that each of us in the party kind of split up, and we all go to a different corner of the map, and we're not focused on trying to get a score in this phase. All we want to do is just kill the white and avoid hitting the blue or yellow or orange elites. So what we do is we pick up a tower, and what I like to do is mostly use primary attack, and I don't use any AoE skills, because that could always risk hitting some of the elites and killing them up, which is not what you want to do. So what I usually like to do is actually take off all of my legendary gems, just so my damage isn't high. A gem which is really bad for this phase, for example, would be Void Spark, because Void Spark has an AoE effect which hits up to 8 enemies, and it's really not what you want here. So the only gems that I actually keep on my setup are the Blood-Soaked Jade and the Bottled Hope. So the good thing about these gems is that they just give you a pure damage multiplier and also movement speed, which is kind of what you want. So speaking of movement speed, one thing which is very important about every phase is that you want the maximum mobility. You really want to have a build that has huge mobility, and you want to be moving as much as possible at the 70% mobility speed. And you also want to be utilizing the maximum size, so obviously you want to be using the brawler tree, but I'll talk more about those tips a bit later in the video. So for now, as you can see, we're just all in different corners of the map, and we just pick the towers up when we need to get a few kills, because you cannot kill monsters while you don't have the tower timer active, and we just focus on killing the white mobs as much as possible. And we do this for about roughly 10 minutes. I've heard of some groups doing a really insane prep, and they even might be killing the blue mobs. I'm not too sure, but I didn't want to spend like hours upon hours doing this preparation phase. So the maximum we like to go for as a group is only 10 minutes, and we find that this gives us quite a large number of blue and yellow elites within the map once we actually start our run. So once the prep phase is done, we move to the main phase, which is the actual run itself. Now for the run itself, we've had the best results when each person has a slightly different role. So the way we like to set it up is that only one person is getting the score per run that we do. So we only focus on one person getting a very high score, and the other guys will still get a decent score, but it won't be as high as that person. And then what we do is we obviously alternate so that every person kind of gets their turn to get a very high score. So how it works is that there's 3 people running, and one person who's just kind of focusing on getting a high score, as well as calling out signals to the other 3 runners. So for the builds for both the runners and the scorer, they both want to go for high mobility builds, and if they're a class that utilizes dashes, they can use dashes. If they're, for example, a crusader, then they obviously want to have their drawn quarter just to maximize the movement speed. But there's a key difference between the runners and the scorers, and that is that the runners are focusing on killing and running as fast as possible, while the scorer is focused on following the runners and trying to maximize the shard drops. So it's actually most beneficial for the scorer to not kill anything and focus on ending their kill streak as early as possible. In this run, I've assumed the role of the scorer, so I actually want to minimize my damage as much as possible, but I still want to keep the high mobility and skill uptime. So I actually removed all of my legendary gems. The only one that I kept on is my Bloodsoaked Jade, and this was just a rank 1 Bloodsoaked Jade that I hadn't upgraded. And I would actually recommend you guys to do the same. Just keep the gems that you need for awakenings. Let's say you need a specific cooldown for a skill, then I would actually suggest you guys to keep the awakenings, but just experiment and make sure that you have 100% uptime of the skill that you need. So for example, for Tempest, the mobility skill is the Rolling Surf, and I still have 100% uptime even when my setup is a lot weaker. The other thing which I do is I do a full Paragon Tree reset, and if you'd like, you can take points into Brawler, but I just did a whole Paragon Tree reset. I didn't assign any points, and that greatly reduces my damage. And the other thing is I also take out my normal gems completely, and this also reduces my damage even further. And I actually take out any essences which deal damage and provide no mobility. So for example, the essence that I have for Crosswinds, which is a skill that's just purely to deal damage and AoE, I didn't need any essence for it, so I just removed this. The other thing which is very important as a scorer is actually to set your familiar to the defensive mode rather than the attack mode, because like I said, you don't want to be getting any kills on mobs. So I opted to go for a Dusk Prowler, which is the cat with only blue skills, and I set this to the defensive mode. I actually wouldn't recommend you guys to remove the familiar. I tried a run where I removed the familiar completely, but it was extremely bad, because the pet helps a lot because it's actually picking up a lot of the time orbs automatically, and you won't have to kind of run over the orbs manually to pick them up. So the pet is extremely useful to have. You just want one that isn't really doing much damage. So as far as the tips which apply to both the runners and the scorer, I would really recommend you guys to go to your general settings and turn off auto pickup for the white, blue and yellow items. And the other thing is also to go to your interface setting and turn on the large minimap. This helps a lot in this mode because you can kind of see where all the other players are, especially in the inside and outside lanes where you want everyone to be a bit closer to each other. It's extremely useful for all players to have this setting on. So let's go ahead and start with the run now. You can see that I'm playing as the Tempest, and then for the runners we have 2 wizards both playing my ultimate power build, which I featured on my channel, and then we have a crusader who's playing a very similar build to the amazing horse build, which I also featured on my channel before, so you can check those builds out. But as you can see, I'm just trying to follow the runners here. So the runner that I'm mainly going to be following in the video is the crusader, and the reason for that is the crusader is actually probably the fastest person to run in the party, and he was also very strong at one-shotting everything. So even though the 3 runners have similar objectives, which is to kill the mobs and run as fast as possible, they actually have slightly different paths that they're going to follow. So for the crusader, we decided that we want him to run in the outer circle, so he's just following the edges of the map, and imagine the outer box of the map. That's how he's basically running the whole way through. And for the other 2 runners, they're also running slightly different paths. They're both running basically parallel to us as much as possible. So you can see here when I went up on the map, that basically they're very close to us, just parallel, and they're both clearing different parts of the map, because this allows us to get the maximum amount of shards because we're not having people run over each other. And we can see that we also split around the map here, and where basically, like I said, the Crusader is just following the outer circle, and I'm just trying to keep an eye on my kill streak all of the time. So the kill streak is actually the most important part of this strategy, because as you can see, if you watch my kill streak, it's always ending non-stop, and the other players kind of have to know the state of my kill streak so they can take the shards, because they're not really worried about their kill streak or their score. So the most important tip of this video that I'm going to say is, because we're all on comms, what you want to do is you always want to watch your kill streak, and it doesn't matter what number the kill streak is. The most important thing is just to call out when your kill streak is about to end. Let's say it's about 10% or 20% left on the timer, because that basically allows the runners on the inside to position themselves in such a way that they can click a tower, or like you can see in this case, I actually clicked the tower myself as soon as my kill streak ended. But the good thing also is that if you call out your kill streak, the runners can actually also click a tower at the same time, and it's actually very beneficial for you guys to click multiple towers at the same time if it's possible. If it's not possible, then it's fine, but the most important thing is that once you start a kill streak, you don't want to be clicking towers in the middle of the kill streak. So I'll explain that a bit more clearly. So once the tower has been pressed by either me or one of the runners, you don't want to press another one. You actually want to be skipping over them, and you want to let your kill streak basically expire naturally as fast as possible, and this will basically maximize the amount of shards that you get from the kill streak. So it's not actually beneficial for you guys to go for longer kill streaks. You want to make the kill streak as short as possible, and even though this gives less shard rewards, it'll give you the reward more frequently, and this means that on average you're going to be getting way more shards, and this is the whole kind of core strategy that we're trying to follow here. What I found out is that you can increase your time up to a maximum of 10 minutes, and then after that the time orbs aren't actually going to give you any time at all. So you don't want to be focusing too much on picking up the time orbs manually. You just want to let your familiar do that at its own pace. The main thing is that you always want to make sure that you're always within range of all the other runners, and keep calling out when your kill streak is about to end. So sometimes there is a bug where your kill streak won't appear on the screen, and what I would suggest is you as the scorer to actually click the tower yourself, and this will fix that issue. But as you can see now, I've just clicked the tower, and I've told my team that I clicked the tower myself, so they know that they should be skipping all of the towers. And you can see that the Crusader actually skipped past 2 of the towers here, and then here I called out to my team that I needed a tower, and I actually pressed it myself, and you can't really see it on screen, but the runners on the inside actually pressed a tower at the same time, and they told me that they managed to actually press a tower at the same time, which is really good. But here, once again, the Crusader skipped past because he knows that I'm still on my kill streak, and then I called out here that my kill streak is about to end, and once again I'm going to press the tower here myself, and once again the 2 runners on the inside also managed to press a tower each. But like I said, that isn't a crucial part of the strategy. The most important thing is that while your kill streak is going, that you don't press any extra towers, because you do want your kill streak just to end naturally every time. So if you've been watching this run closely, you'll notice that I don't press my primary attack at all, and I'm actually not pressing my crosswind skill at all, and that's because both of these do damage. The only skills which I'm pressing is my rolling surf, which gives me a mobility, and the dash skills, which are breaker and squall in this case. So it's very crucial that the scorer doesn't actively seek out kills, because this will actually prolong the kill streak, which you don't really want to do. So I'm just going to skip ahead now to the last couple of seconds of our run, and it's kind of interesting to see that I ended the run there with about 4,160 shards. But just from the last phase, which we're moving on to now, this is called the collecting phase. So just from this collecting phase, my score went from 4,160 to almost 6,000 shards. So basically I gained about 2,000 shards just from this collecting phase, which just shows you how crucial this collecting phase is. So I'm kind of going to stress this a lot, that basically you want to take your time as much as possible, especially if you're the scorer, just to make sure you collect every single shard. You can see that sometimes the shards kind of pop up in this animation here, and it might look like that there's nothing there, and then once you actually run over it, all the shards pop up. So you can see that there's just so many shards there, and yeah, just take your time with it and make sure you explore every single corner, the inside paths and also the outside paths. The thing that you have to be quite careful about, so you can see here I got pretty close to the barrier there. If you get too close to the barrier of entry, then you're actually going to get teleported inside, which is going to stop you from collecting any extra shards. Be careful when you get close to those barriers, and you just want to basically let your familiar collect any shards around rather than you actually getting super close to it. So that's pretty much the whole strategy in a nutshell. You've got the three phases, which are all kind of equally as important as each other. You've got the prep, you've got the run, and then finally you've got the collecting phase. So a few things which I forgot to mention is that we actually try to use the same strategy with boosting two players at the same time, which might seem a bit more time efficient, but the issue with that is that the kill streaks would sometimes get out of sync, and this actually led to quite a poor score. And if you just really want to maximize your score as much as possible, I would really suggest to just take the extra time and run like this, because the idea is just that you can take turns with each player having their own turn as the scorer. The other thing which I forgot to mention about the prep phase is that you want to make sure that there's a boss in the bottom half of the map, because this gives a huge amount of shards. And the other thing is that you kind of want to leave a bit of time between your prep phase and your actual run, because you want to make sure that all the towers on the map respawn before you actually start your run. So you can see here that I'm up to a score of about 5.5k, and the map is actually looking pretty clear. And just when you think that there's nothing left, there's going to be some shards popping up. This is always how it goes. So I really want to stress this again. Please take your time with this phase, guys, so you don't waste all of your hard work. So I've collected everything now, and you can see that my final score is 5,946, which is close to 6k. And if I just check the score of my teammates, you can see that they all got very respectable scores. They're the second, third, and fourth place right now in the clan, and they have between 4.3 and 4k score, which is still very respectable, but obviously we're going to take turns and make sure that we all have roughly 6k score. So I just want to give a huge shout out to my teammates. So I want to give a huge thanks to Sly, Vimley, and Six. I was quite proud of this run because we executed the strategy perfectly. For now, I would like to wish you all a very nice day or a very nice evening wherever you are. And of course, to my clan members in Play to Win, I would like to say, play hard, win harder, Lords and chocolate sauce forever be with you. Bye bye.